Hello, you gorgeous people. Today I'm going to talk about Charlie Kirk and what I make of all of that. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So I'm probably very late to the party. Everybody is talking about Charlie Kirk and what happened. It's the internet is awash with people talking about Charlie Kirk. I have to say that I found out my son, who was here on holiday, who's not awake, not actively awake anyway. He's heard me talking, but he's not actively awake. He said, "You know Charlie Kirk?" I said, yeah. Well, he's been shot in the neck. And I was absolutely gobsmacked. And I went in, and at the time, it wasn't sure whether he was still alive or not. And then as the night progressed, it obviously came clear that he wasn't. And I was knocked sideways. Truly. I was absolutely wiped out by it. More than I understood why. I still really don't understand why it hurt me so much. But I was wounded. I felt traumatized. Obviously, I made the big mistake of watching the bloody video, right? And that's horrible. Horrible. It's horrible. However, I was really affected by it. And I think not because I particularly agreed with everything that Charlie Kirk said, and he had a lot of people who criticised him as well. But I was aware that he was working hard on doing the right thing. Right? All right, there were some issues there, but he was working bloody hard to do the right thing. And but trying to help and also to highlight this vast difference that we have between what we would call people who were conservative. I'm not going to use left or right, because I think that's the biggest trick that they've got up their sleeve. And I think this whole Charlie Kirk thing is designed to get us into division. But he worked hard to highlight the differences and to highlight the lack of concordance in the arguments that are presented to him. And he did a bloody good job. So I really was knocked sideways by it. Really, I felt. I went to bed and I thought, well, maybe when I wake up, I'll feel a bit better. And I didn't. I just felt very, very down. It seemed to be a horrible thing. No, it didn't seem. It was. But we're in a world where so many acts of horribleness are happening. And yet that one in particular really, really hit me hard. So I was asking the emissaries about it. And they said, well, it's compassion, Gordon. You watch something and you felt extreme compassion. And I think as well, I didn't expect it. For whatever reason, I just didn't expect that to happen. And I know that these people who put themselves out there really do put themselves out there, and they're open to dangerous situations, especially in this world where the truth is a lie and the lie is the truth. Since then, of course, what's happened is that lots of information has come out, more and more. And everybody's said about investigating the situation. So I've seen 3 guys that were next to Charlie Kirk as he was speaking. One of them appeared to be giving signals just before it happened. Swiping, which is a sniper signal. Swiping. Another guy appeared to be giving signals. One guy appeared to have something under his arm that looked very much like a pistol. And then when the shot rang out, he took it out from under his arm, and plain as day, I could see there was a pistol there. Minutes after he was taken away, somebody went around taking the cameras down. There were no ambulances at the event, even though there's supposed to be. Some people are saying that he didn't die and that he's gone undercover because he was scared for his life. Some people are saying that he confided in them that he was scared for his life. He thought that it was going to happen because of the way that he was speaking out about you know who. And so within 48 hours, I did not know what to believe. Still don't. Didn't know what to believe. I put that to the emissary and said, what's that all about? You know, why is it so convoluted and so blurry? And they said, open loops, Gordon, reminding me of what we talked about recently. They said open loops. They said when these things happen, the whole point is to leave, and not just leave, but to create as many confusions as possible. To open as many loops. And they said, when all of these open loops are opened, people will busy themselves working on that for days, weeks, months, and years, without ever reaching any conclusions. And we only need to look at what happened with the Twin Towers. And that was, more than 20 years ago now. And have we reached any conclusions? Has anything been ever resolved? Has it? Fuck. Trump had an attempted assassination. And has anything been resolved from that? Not a thing. Have we heard anything? Not a thing. Open loops. Open loops. I watched Charlie Kirk's wife give a speech. And you know what happens is this. When you're awake, once you've woken up, you can't see anything through the same eyes as you used to when you were asleep. People who are asleep accept everything that's given to them. Go, all right, isn't that awful? That's dreadful. Or that's really good. They just accept whatever they're told as, well, I'm being given the truth. And when you're awake, you accept fuck all, nothing. I'm aware of that, and I'm aware that it actually is an impediment for me, that I will look at everything with inquisitive eyes, with doubting eyes. I just don't trust anything. And so I'm watching Charlie Kirk's wife do a speech, and she looked like she was accepting an Oscar. That's the way she was talking. For example, what I mean by that is, if my wife had been assassinated in that way, okay, 48 hours ago, and I did a video, what I wouldn't do is I wouldn't be on the video fully made up, looking smashing, looking great. I just wouldn't. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything. I'm just giving you my opinion, okay? I'm not making any accusations or whatever. But I would be lost for words. I don't know what I would be able to say. I don't know whether I'll be able to get through 3 words without breaking down. I don't know. And yet there she was. Now, I have a certificate. I have a certificate in statement analysis. Statement analysis is actually listening to what somebody says or reading what they've written and then just checking to see if there are any weirdness that's going on, anything that indicates like a little, a red flag or whatever. When a parent loses a child, for example, a child's abducted or they go missing, the parents that have lost that child, when they go on to talk on the TV, that's all they can talk about. That's all they can talk about. My child, find my child, find my child. They won't get dragged into anything else. Just find my child, find my child. They're angry with everybody. Yeah. The first 75% of his wife's speech was thanking other people.
I first want to thank the local, state, and federal law enforcement. I want to thank the
thanking this one, thanking that one, it was weird. That's not what I expected. What I expected was her to say, I am so upset, I'm so angry, I've lost my husband, the father of my children. And then she said this. And I'm probably paraphrasing it, but it was the personal pronoun that made my ears prick up. Personal pronouns are very, very important. For example, if I'm in therapy and somebody says, I say to them, so how do you feel about that? And they say, well, you don't feel good. I have to stop them and say, talk about yourself. Say, I don't feel good. When people use pronouns to distance themselves from the issue, it's understandable. Some people leave pronouns out. What did you do? Well, went to and they don't say I. It's a red flag. Why? Because they're trying to distance themselves from it. Like went to, not saying I went to. So she said, at home, our child came up to us, up to me. And she corrected herself. Up to us, up to me.
Gigi, our daughter just ran into my arms.
Now, that could be totally understandable because she still perceives her husband being alive and she hasn't come to terms with what's happened. I understand that. That's possible. But she also said, and I believe, she said something like, I know that Charlie is still with us. In statement analysis, what happens is people, unfortunately, they can't help themselves but to say the truth, even if it's sort of in a convoluted way. And so I heard a couple of things and I was thinking, this is, in isolation, I would dismiss it as, well, that's just, she's under a lot of stress. She's probably drugged up to the eyeballs. But the first 75% of what she said was thanking people. And then this. And up to that point, I think it was only in the last few minutes that there was any emotion at all that I saw. I don't know if I saw any tears. It was really bizarre. And then she said, and our daughter said, where's Daddy? And I said, Daddy's doing a job for Jesus, or something like that. And she said, what do you say to a 2-year-old? My daughter's 3, right?
And I talked to her and she said, Mommy, I missed you. I said, I miss you too, baby. She goes, where's Daddy? What do you tell a 3-year-old? She's 3.
And it just seemed very, what do you say to a 2-year-old? My daughter's 3. It was just, there were these little things that just didn't seem to ring true. It doesn't really matter what I say. It's not important. I'm just flagging it up as these opened some loops for me that I didn't have open. And then watching all of these people doing these hand signals and then you find out that the guy who's done it just so happens to be another, trans supporter. His partner's trans. His grandmother says that he has never shot a gun in his life. He's 22. He looks incapable of climbing up a drain pipe. The footage is rubbish that they're showing. And it's just the same story again, which is all of these loose ends, these open loops. None of it makes any sense whatsoever. The emissary said this, because I was having a right old rant about it. And they said, just remember, this is the devil's world, and the devil is the father of the lie. And so everything that comes out of it is going to be a lie. You've got to expect it. And so this is where we are in this crazy, crazy part. What the emissary said, and this was a while ago, was that it's going to get really bumpy. We're going through, and the metaphor that came to mind was, imagine you've got a jar of coffee that you haven't used for ages, and it's all at the bottom. Coffee, it doesn't really matter. It's all at the bottom, and it's stuck. And you need to loosen it off because it's just stuck in this one place. And so to do it, you have to really give the jar a heavy shake. This is where we are. We are in the heavy shake moment. boy, can you feel it? This is like bizarre. Bizarre, you know. Add to all of the Charlie Kirk mystery that a book was printed, published a day before, you know, the shooting of Charlie Kirk, which has then since been taken off Amazon. However, people have got the look back machine or whatever, and they've taken screenshots, and there it is. It was there, posted the day before. Netanyahu Bibi posted a tweet about it before anybody else, like in moments, just as it was happening, saying, we're really sorry that he has passed on, when it hadn't even been confirmed that he had passed on. What is all that about? It's too much for my little brain. It really is. It's too much for me to cope with. Too many things, too many open loops. And so, you know, I don't know how you feel. I'd like to know your comments. I'd like to know what you think, especially those who've seen the speech of his wife. Tell me what you think. Am I misreading it? You know, was there a lot more emotion there than I saw? Something weird going on with the whole fucking thing. And add to that it's really traumatic. But I'll leave you with this as something that I heard, and it impacted me. Do you remember when George Floyd got whatever happened to him? Whatever, there was another zillion open loops there. That night, the night after that, cities were ablaze, cars were ablaze, gangs of young people were paid to go out and just cause absolute havoc. Yeah. However, when Charlie Kirk passed over in the way that he did, no riots, no horribleness, no people being attacked or whatever, nothing. That's the difference. That's the difference. And what I'm aware of, and I know, right, because I want to finish this, but what I'm aware of is this. We are being given this right-left paradigm. And at the moment, the left is being proclaimed as the violent people that, you know. People on the left, these are liberals, right? People on the left originally were good people who wanted everyone to have the same rights and freedoms and everything. They're good people. But thanks to George Soros and his gang and all of that, they've been made to be something really horrible by manipulation. I don't believe for a moment that the people on the left are horrible. But what's also happened is they've been indoctrinated. They've been pushed way, way, way off. And so they've lost sight of themselves, I think, a lot of them as well. But generally, I think they're just good people. What we see with all of these riots and all of that, that's just paid, organised things to create division. It's not the people. You know, that's why they bust them in. That's why they put masks on them. That's why they've all got uniforms and the same stuff, and they get equipment, bust in. It's the same group all the time. It's not really the left people. Yeah, some get carried away with it. Some of them. You know, there are always extreme fanatics. So it's not fair to say, well, look, the right are well behaved and the left are badly behaved, because I don't believe that that's the case. However, it was very clear that there was nothing like that. You know, people, if anything, what I see is that it's making people turn to faith because they're so shocked by it and so hurt. Good will come of this, I know. How long that'll take, I don't know, but good will come of this. And this is just another step in the awakening of the people who need to wake up. That's all. This event will have woken up millions upon millions of people. And that's what we need. Unfortunately, there's a high price to pay for shaking that coffee jar and making everything loose. And unfortunately, the awakened ones, we're getting shook all over the place, and we're already loose. Makes it worse when you're loose. I love you all, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.